Film began with two French inventors known as the Lumiere brothers, as they were the first to produce an early motion picture projector, the cinematograph. This was the first film camera which also worked as a printer, and the Lumiere brothers used it to produce a short film which consisted of workers leaving the Lumiere factory. Due to their creation, this influenced other practitioners and other film directors to start producing their own films. After the Lumiere brothers announced their cinematograph to the public on December 28, 1895, George Méliès was amazed by what he had seen, and after the show had finished, he offered the Lumiere brothers a prize for the cinematograph, but they turned him down. This didn't stop George from following his own passions. Later on, George went on to produce films using his illusions, magic, and his own experience in stage design. After George made a name for himself and became more or less famous in producing films for audiences, he began to start showcasing other people's films that were mainly made by a new production product known as the Kinescope. This was designed so only one person could view the footage through a peephole. George wasn't just influenced by practitioners, but authors as well. In 1902, he produced a silent French film called A Trip to the Moon. This film was influenced by novelist Jules Verne. After the Great War in the early 1920s, German director Fritz Lang had the mindset to produce one of the best films ever that shocked audiences around the world. His first ever silent film, Metropolis, that focused on dystopian times. Metropolis looked at futuristic elements, first ever to appear in a featured film. This was done by the use of mechanical society being created, the idea of enslaved lower-class workers working in an underground for high-class workers. Fritz Lang used his imagination to produce such a wondrous film that became influential and effective at the same time. Film directors today like George Lucas have been influenced by Metropolis and the idea of futuristic environments, very intense creative narratives, and the elements of surprise. In 1898, Humpty Dumpty Circus was released by directors J. Stuart Blackton and Albert E. Smith. This film paved the way for more stop-motion films to be produced throughout the years. Furthermore, with the continuous mindset, Blackton went on to produce the Uncharted drawing and inspired other stop-motion animators. In addition, stop-motion started to take off properly with the help of an inspired film practitioner, Willis O'Brien, in which he released The Lost World. This was a combination between stop-motion dinosaurs and live actors. Overwhelmed by his success from the release of Lost World, O'Brien produced a groundbreaking stop-motion film that has gone on to have remakes and is still known today as one of the best stop-motion films during the 1930s, King Kong. Since the 1930s, stop-motion has developed progressively as it has allowed film practitioners to go crazy with their ideas.
stop motion over the years, it's gone from using like just clay. If you remember, like Morph from like Art Attack or whatever it was, just the clay plasticine man. It's gone from that to having steel skeletons which can be moved and figured to now in more recent films like The Isle of Dogs or The Missing Link, where each one is like a posable toy almost with plug sockets. The only way that stop motion animation can go is up. We're constantly finding that there's constantly new techniques being involved. Just looking at The Nightmare Before Christmas and the most recent like Isle of Dogs, which has been nominated for like so many Oscars and awards, directed by Wes Anderson. The difference in just the span of about 10-20 years is completely insane. We've gone like 4 or 5 steps up of what we were once able to achieve. Anyone can make a stop motion film, anyone with some Lego and a camera, if you've got the time and the patience and the tenacity to sit there and move an arm over the course of 5, 10 takes, just to make it wave. Anyone can do stop motion, but to do it, to give stop motion the time it deserves to create a feature film like Isle of Dogs, it takes a lot more than just, oh, I want to make a thing. It takes the passion to do it properly and to really like push the boundaries of what you can do.
During the early 1970s, cinema became more significant as it developed in using 2D computer imagery to make moving image on screen more entertaining and more realistic. Westworld was the first motion feature film to use CGI according to Empire. This technique of using pixelated POV graphics became very revolutionary as CGI has developed so much that it has made the cinematic world increase its audience and has become more realistic, entertaining and satisfying to watch. Furthermore, Westworld was really influential as it pioneered special effects used from the 1970s to modern films today. After Westworld's initial release in cinemas on the 21st of November 1973, the film was successful. It awarded itself with a sequel which released in 1976. However, the film's special effects had differed as they were no longer using 2D computer imagery, but are more improved and updated technology. The sequel to the success Westworld, known as Future World, used technology which was 3D computer imagery. This gave director Richard T. Heffron the chance to visualize a film that used more productive special effects that would grab audience's attention instantly. In 1993, the dinosaurs are back. Steven Spielberg brings about one of the best CGI films to hit the cinemas, Jurassic Park. This was a spectacular family-orientated film as its special effects allowed for fantastic realism and a thrilling storyline. The film was a huge success as it gained 2 sequels and had future installments, with the release of Jurassic World Trilogy currently coming to an end with its final installment in the franchise, which will release in cinemas on the 10th of June 2021. In 1995, John Lasseter produced one of the most successful animated films with the likes of Toy Story, which became a beloved franchise. CGI animation has evolved creatively with film franchises like How to Train Your Dragon and Shrek, along with other successors such as Astro Boy, Megamind and Bolt. What do you think about the evolution of the first Toy Story and then Toy Story 4?
Do you know what? I thought they nailed it. I thought they absolutely nailed it. I loved the first Toy Story and I loved the fourth one. And I watched both of them in the cinema. The only difference being is that I think I was 10 or 11 when the first Toy Story came out. Yeah, because I think it's like 94, something like that.
94, 95, I think.
Right, so yeah, I was about 10. Now, you can't get away from, I think this is the main point really above everything. You can't, whether we sit and we be snobby about all the different things and all the, you know, and whether we should use it, whether we shouldn't, you'll never get away from when something is just a bloody good film. Good filmmaking, be it whatever medium you do it. You've got, you know, Wallace and Gromit, that's plasticine. Them films were amazing because it's good filmmaking, it's good production technique. And with Toy Story, from knowing what I know now, I do watch for things like shadows. I do watch for things that when something does look right, or the depth looks right, or when something does look a bit not right, or why a face doesn't move in the way that a normal face moves or whatever. But when I watched the first Toy Story, I wasn't looking for any of that. I just saw a really good story and it was beautifully made. It was, everything about it was perfect. I had that same reaction watching the fourth one. And you know, I think there's a great thing in all production when the second you notice the production, we've failed at our job. If you watch it and you go back to being like I was, where I went back to being 10 years old, and even though I was sat in the cinema with my children watching the fourth one, I had that same thing that, yeah, like Toy Story, I've grown up with Toy Story. And I thought it was still beautifully made. The characters were still brilliant. The new characters were brilliant, the humour was there. Yes, the production has gone a hell of a lot more detailed, but they haven't dropped the ball. Not in any way. I thought it was absolutely perfect.
Furthermore, CGI and VFX started to hit the small screens. These post-production techniques have been used countless times to produce amazing film franchises and individual films. However, in 2007, a TV program was released to the small screen that wowed audiences. The TV program was called Primeval, which is a science fiction drama program. It is also an action-packed and special effects laden thriller created by Tim Haines and Adrian Hodges. All the creatures from Primeval are fully CGI, and the Mills VFX team successfully made the creatures look realistic and helped in making the show entertaining for its audience. Within the TV show, they created a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which and where the VFX team would have to venture out to different museums to measure out skeletons. However, there was issues with this, as it's easy to make creatures look big and easy with CGI, but when the T-Rex would fall down in front of the camera, you'd come face to face with its facial features. CGI can look so easy and realistic, but there are always issues that production teams such as the Mills VFX team would have to consider. In 2008, Marvel Studios released their first film in a continuous timeline of films that all corresponded with one another to tell a story over 3 phases in which they all make up the Infinity Saga. Iron Man being the first film was a good success. This went on to over a decade of filmmaking, giving characters their own original stories. CGI has been crucial in the making of Marvel Studio films. Over the last couple of years, Marvel have relied heavily on the assistance of VFX teams for up to nearly 100% of the shots they take. When Iron Man first released, Marvel had Robert Downey Jr. wear a physical suit while using some CGI. Robert would only wear the helmet, sleeves and a chest plate while wearing a motion capture suit. In Avengers Endgame, the Quantum Realm suits are fully CGI, while all the other characters are just walking with a green screen behind them. This just shows how technology has been helpful in allowing Marvel to produce worldwide blockbusters with amazing special effects. Motion capture has been used over the years in successful franchises such as Planet of the Apes and Pirates of the Caribbean. It is the process of recording movement of objects or people. It refers to recording people of human actors and using that information to create models in 2D and 3D. Planet of the Apes uses motion capture. Andy Serkis, who portrays Caesar in the franchise, wore a motion capture suit while on set and his body movements were put into a computer program. By doing this, it allows characters to look extremely lifelike. There are different types of motion capture. However, the type of motion capture that Matt Reeves used was optical active, as the cast would wear LED markers that would connect to the motion capture suits. Do you think technology has played a massive part in that?
Yeah, definitely. Because as years go on, films get better. So if you were to look at, say, Planet of the Apes years ago, and it was just costumes, if you played that now to an audience, you wouldn't enjoy it. Technology goes on with time. So as technology gets better, obviously films have to get better as well, and the techniques what they use. So, and it helps create more of a better world. The mocap, you believe it more rather than seeing somebody in a suit jumping about. I think at the end of the day, I don't think they realise what they're going to look like. They're just bringing the performance to life the best they can. Obviously, it's not going to look. They've got to read the script, do the performance. I don't think they're going to think about the end result. When they see it, obviously, it brings a different layer. So I don't think there's pressure. I can't see how much more it can change because they need identifiers to capture the emotions. But as technology goes on, they will find a way to make it easier to do.
On the topic of Planet of the Apes, do you think that characters who played certain, apes in the film, do you think they had to learn how to become that character?
With the physicalities and everything?
Yeah, with the physicality.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You'd have to look at, so all actors are all about researching the role as well. And I think with mocap, you'd have to be a very method actor. You have to get into the role of physicalities of whoever, say if you're playing an ape, you have to get into the physicalities of an ape, know what they do, how they act, how they pass the time. You'd have to become an ape. That's what you are, an ape. With the suit on. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, it enhanced the film so much more. You can go anywhere with it. So, Lord of the Rings, you've got Gollum. You can create that creature from a person, and it helps get a real performance in as well. So it's not just the face. You can also incorporate the movements. You can also incorporate the face into it. So you can such as Smaug, in The Hobbit. Benedict Cumberbatch said all the mocap for that. He didn't have to, but it just helped him enhance his performance.